Let's talk about the US and Canada, two countries with one of the longest, friendliest borders in the world. For decades, they've shared more than just geography. They've built deep economic ties, cultural exchanges, and a sense of mutual respect that's rare in international relations. Usually these neighbors get along just fine. But, every so often, even the closest friends have their disagreements, and sometimes, those disagreements can get heated. In early 2025, President Trump shocked both countries by threatening a sweeping 25% tariff on all Canadian and Mexican goods entering the U.S. The announcement sent shockwaves through boardrooms and government offices on both sides of the border. Suddenly, supply chains that had run smoothly for years were thrown into chaos. Economists scrambled to predict the fallout, while businesses braced for higher costs and possible layoffs. The uncertainty was palpable, and the stakes couldn't have been higher. Canada managed to negotiate a 1-month delay before the tariffs would take effect. But make no mistake, this wasn't a gesture of goodwill. It was a calculated move, a way to turn up the pressure and force Canada to the negotiating table. The message from Washington was clear: play by our rules, or brace for an economic storm that could hit every Canadian household and business. This wasn't partnership, it was brinkmanship. A high-stakes game of chicken with billions of dollars and millions of jobs on the line. Both sides waited to see who would blink first. For Canadians, known for their politeness and willingness to compromise, this was a moment of reckoning. Suddenly, the country found itself pushed to the edge, forced to defend its interests and its dignity. The tariff threat wasn't just another policy dispute, it was a direct challenge to Canadian sovereignty, pride, and patience. Protests erupted, and politicians faced mounting pressure to stand up to their powerful neighbor. Meanwhile, the White House seemed confident that Canada would eventually cave, as if the U.S. could dictate the terms without consequence. But after years of unpredictable trade spats and mounting frustration, Canadian patience was wearing thin. Business owners and workers alike wondered how much more they could take. This wasn't just another trade dispute, it was the spark that threatened to ignite a much larger fire in U.S.-Canada relations, with consequences that could last for years. The U.S. administration had misread the mood north of the border. This time, Canada was ready to push back, determined to defend its economy and its national pride. The stage was set for a dramatic showdown. The gloves were off, and both sides were preparing for a fight that would test the strength of their relationship like never before. The neighborly feud was about to get real, and the world was watching to see who would stand their ground. Canada didn't respond with apologies, they hit back, and hard. The world often jokes about Canadians being polite, but this time, politeness was nowhere to be found. Instead, what followed was a wave of determination and unity that surprised even some Canadians themselves. The government, provinces, and everyday people all rallied together, ready to show that Canada would not be pushed around. Prime Minister Trudeau announced retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods, signaling Canada wouldn't be bullied. These tariffs targeted everything from steel and aluminum to household staples like ketchup and orange juice, products chosen to hit key American industries and political bases. Trudeau's message was clear: Canada would defend its interests no matter the cost. Provinces joined in. Ontario slapped a surcharge on electricity exports to the U.S., making it more expensive for American businesses to keep the lights on. This wasn't just a symbolic gesture, it was a calculated move to remind the U.S. how much they relied on Canadian resources. British Columbia threatened tolls on trucks heading to Alaska and banned liquor from Republican-led states. The province made it clear that American products and travelers would no longer get a free pass. Yukon halted all American purchases for government contracts in liquor stores. Suddenly, shelves were empty of American whiskey and other U.S. goods, sending a message that even remote regions were willing to make sacrifices. Even the public got creative, suggesting bans on Trump Jr. hunting trips. Social media buzzed with ideas for new ways to push back, from boycotting American brands to organizing rallies and protests. It was a national effort. Each province found a unique way to squeeze American interests. From coast to coast, Canadians were united in their resolve, showing a rare display of cross-country solidarity. Canada's leverage wasn't just in federal tariffs, but in the everyday ties between the two economies. Every truck crossing the border, every handshake between business partners, became a reminder of how deeply connected the two countries were, and how much disruption Canada could cause if it chose to. The message: if you want to make this hurt, we can make it hurt too. Canada was no longer playing defense. It was taking the fight directly to the U.S., using every tool at its disposal. The trade dispute became a multi-front war of economic inconvenience. Delays at the border, new tariffs, and targeted bans all added up, creating headaches for American companies and consumers alike. Canada proved it could be just as tough and mischievous as its southern neighbor. The country's response was clever, calculated, and, at times, even a little cheeky. The U.S. wasn't facing a pushover, it was facing a united, creative, and determined Canada. The sense of national pride was palpable, and Canadians everywhere felt empowered to stand up for themselves. The retaliation was personal, targeted, and impossible to ignore. American products disappeared from shelves and shoppers made their displeasure known at the checkout. This was no longer just about trade, it was about national pride. For many, it became a defining moment, a chance to show the world what it really means to be Canadian. The gloves were off on both sides, and Canada was ready to go the distance, proving that standing up for yourself sometimes means fighting back with everything you've got. British Columbia's toll threat was a masterstroke because of Alaska's geography. Alaska is connected to the lower 48 by Canada, and while most cargo arrives by sea, the 10% that comes by road is vital. The Alaska Highway is the state's economic lifeline for fresh food, urgent supplies, and just-in-time logistics. Delay those trucks and grocery shelves go empty, oil rigs stall, and small businesses suffer. The highway is Alaska's weak point, a single critical artery. Premier Eby's toll threat wasn't symbolic, it was a direct hit on Alaskan daily life. Canada had found the pressure point, turning a simple road into a powerful bargaining chip. Sometimes, one road can change the whole game. In Alaska, the toll threat landed like a punch to the gut. Suddenly, the cost of basics, milk, lettuce, spare parts, was set to soar. The Alaska Trucking Association warned of chaos, and state leaders knew the costs would hit families hardest. For remote communities, the highway is survival. Delays mean empty shelves and real hardship. Alaskans felt like pawns in a fight they didn't start, caught between D.C. and Ottawa. The policy meant to put America first was now isolating an American state. The sense of vulnerability was real, and resentment grew on both sides of the border. Alaska's independence was suddenly at the mercy of Canadian decisions. The last frontier felt more isolated than ever. Whenever trade tensions rise, people ask, could Canada use oil as a weapon? Canada is America's top foreign oil supplier, sending over 4 million barrels a day. But a full oil blockade? Not likely. Shutting off the tap would devastate Canada's own economy, costing jobs and triggering a recession. Logistically, it's a nightmare. Canada relies on U.S. pipelines to move its own oil. Legally, a 1977 treaty bans either country from blocking transit pipelines. The real leverage isn't in a dramatic shutdown but in slowly shifting oil exports elsewhere. Canada's oil power is a slow game, not a nuclear option. Both sides know it, so the threat is more headline than reality. The real moves happen quietly over years, not overnight. President Trump dismissed the idea of a Canadian oil cutoff, claiming America could just drill more. The bravado played well at home, but in Ottawa it was a wake-up call. Canada realized it couldn't rely on the U.S. as a stable partner. The Keystone XL cancellation and Trump's rhetoric pushed Canada to diversify. Enter the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion. Now, Canadian oil can reach Asia. Every barrel sold to China or Japan is one less for the U.S. Canada's pivot to the Pacific is a strategic escape hatch. The next time tariffs or threats come, Canada has options. The U.S. is no longer the only game in town. Canada is building leverage for the long haul. Could British Columbia really toll the Alaska Highway? Surprisingly, yes. There's only one main road, easy to monitor, easy to control. Existing weigh stations and inspection points could double as toll booths. Electronic tolling tech makes it even simpler. The threat wasn't a bluff, it was a credible, actionable plan. Canada didn't need to build new infrastructure, just use what's already there. The message to Alaska and Washington, we know your weak spot and we can squeeze if needed. This wasn't just talk, it was a real economic weapon. The U.S. had to take the threat seriously. Sometimes geography is the ultimate trump card. Why did a tariff fight escalate so fast? Look to U.S. politics. The Trump administration thrives on dramatic, headline-grabbing moves to please its base. Policy shifts happen overnight, often in response to social media outrage. Canada realized that reason and history weren't enough. Only strength and leverage got attention. So they fought fire with fire, tariffs with tolls, surcharges with bans. Even jokes, like banning Trump Jr. from the Yukon, were calculated to sting. Both sides played to their domestic audiences, raising the stakes. The risk of miscalculation was high, but Canada refused to be a passive target. In this political theater, only the bold got heard. When the dust settles, one truth remains. No matter how many disputes or disagreements arise, the US and Canada are inextricably linked. Geography, history, and sheer necessity have bound these two nations together in ways that go far beyond politics or policy. Their economies are deeply intertwined, hurting one inevitably hurts the other. Every day, billions of dollars in goods and services cross the border, supporting millions of jobs on both sides. From bustling cities to rural communities, the ripple effects of their partnership are felt everywhere. Oil is just one example. While the US relies on Canadian crude to keep its industries running, Canada depends on American refineries and markets to sell its resources. This energy partnership is a lifeline for both economies, and disruptions can have global consequences. The auto industry, food supply, and countless jobs depend on cross-border trade. Cars assembled in Detroit might contain parts made in Ontario, and fresh produce from Canadian farms fills American grocery stores. This supply chain is a complex web that keeps shelves stocked and factories humming. Tariffs and surcharges threaten real families, not just politicians. When trade tensions rise, it's workers, farmers, and small business owners who feel the pinch first, sometimes with jobs or livelihoods on the line. The most likely outcome? A negotiated truce with both sides claiming victory. Compromise is the name of the game, and behind closed doors, diplomats and business leaders work tirelessly to keep the peace. But every spat chips away at trust, pushing both countries to seek new partners and diversify their options. The world is watching, and competitors are always ready to step in if the relationship falters. The drama may fade, but the need for stability remains. For both nations, predictability at the border is essential for planning, investment, and growth. Even the friendliest neighbors need strong fences, and a little humility. Disagreements are inevitable, but respect and open communication keep the peace. The lesson: economic interdependence is both a strength and a vulnerability. It's what makes the relationship resilient, but also what makes it fragile in times of crisis. The search for balance will continue long after the headlines move on. Each new challenge is a test of how much these neighbors are willing to adapt and cooperate. In the end, neither side can afford to go it alone. Their futures are tied together, and their greatest successes come when they work as partners, not rivals. The real challenge is learning to fight and forgive like neighbors, because in this relationship, walking away just isn't an option.